Alright, guys, your villains here. You know the vibes. I'm trying to get out the next round of our swordsman tournament. This one will include the likes of Count Dooku versus Deathstroke from DC Comics. Now, this tournament, real quick, rehashing. Stats equalized, purely a test of who is the better swordsman. AP equalized as well, so his lightsaber's not just going to cut through a sword and vice versa. But yeah, anyways, we're going to go over Dooku first and then Deathstroke. So, in his adolescence, Count Dooku was already considered a prodigy, and even as a Padawan was called the finest swordsman this particular Jedi scholar had ever seen, despite his young age. Even amongst the Jedi, according to the Clone Wars, Dooku was a legendary master duelist. Um, he is an acknowledged master lightsaber duelist according to the official starships and vehicles collections. Um, he was considered on par with Mace Windu, and it was stated he even once beat Mace Windu in a sparring match, and he could contend with Master Yoda. His intelligence as a fighter supposedly rivals his actual skill itself. He's a perfectionist in his fighting style. His fighting style, just so y'all know, is called Makashi or Makashi. It is a fencing style, conservative, save stamina. Essentially, he pokes and slashes expertly, keeps you on your toes. He stays on his toes. Very hard to pressure him because of how fluid he is, how quick he is, and subtle his movements are. The only way to really overcome his style is through a very successful Jim So style, which is good defense backed by heavy powerhouse counters. Besides that, it's very hard to do anything to him. Sidious, it's revealed, actually wanted Dooku as an apprentice due to his brilliance and his skill above all else. After Sith, after becoming a Sith, he becomes an even better duelist and improves all his skills. Yoda admitted in Yoda's Dark Rendezvous that Dooku is the third best duelist of all time. Um, there are a couple instances in which he's referred to as the second best. This is noted in Insider 113 when it talks about his curved handled lightsaber and his elegant fighting style. As well as Insider Lords of the Sith call him second to maybe Yoda. And according to Insider 109, he's the highest tier in terms of knowledge of force and skill. So yeah, he's overall one of the smartest fighters around, and he is a high tier duelist. Has beaten even famed masters like Mace Windu in sparring matches before, and his dueling style is centered around one on one martial combat. So he's especially tooled for one on one fights and sword fights. He's made Grievous look like a child, and when sparring him, he was disinterested against Grievous. Grievous has been able to kill Jedi Masters, and honestly, he's one of the most slept on, skilled fighters in the Star Wars mythos. Moving on, we will move on to Deathstroke. Deathstroke is one of the most revered and celebrated assassins and hitmen in all of comics, and has plagued characters like Batman for decades and has terrorized the teen group known as the Teen Titans. In terms of his combat, while he is a well-rounded mercenary, he is quite capable, in particular in dueling. When he fights, there is absolutely zero delay in reaction time for him. That is, the moment he witnesses something, he can react to it. There's no delay between his brain and his muscles, making him a very lethal, quick fighter. Katana, who's one of the most renowned swordsmen in DC, is unable to get the drop on Slade in a duel. He was able to repel her and hold her off in a duel. Deathstroke is a dedicated duelist to the point where he doesn't stop even if the injury he suffers is nearly fatal. Even without a healing factor, Deathstroke's always had strong willpower and continues to fight. In terms of martial arts, he's able to go toe to toe with Batman in martial arts and even beat him. Batman has learned over 120 plus in forms of martial arts and mastered them all. In some circumstances, Deathstroke has shown a preference for power-based dueling. When he does so, he tends to show the use of quick, brutal slashes to one-shot and overwhelm his opponents. Deathstroke is such a crafty fighter that he can just lift the hilt of his sword as a lethal piece of fighting equipment in close quarters. Deathstroke has shown lethal precision slices despite a target moving at an alarming pace. Essentially, if he's blitzing you, or you're blitzing him, or you're both doing the same thing at the same time, doesn't matter. He's shown he's just as accurate at all speeds and tempos of fighting. In a scrap with Hawkman, he actually was able to best him in combat. Hawkman has the martial skill and might of those who previously held the mantle, which all of them happen to be world-class level fighters, yet Deathstroke was able to not only hang with him, but best him. Deathstroke is such a determined and strong-willed fighter that he alone is one of the few mortals who would actually be capable of even wielding the God Killer sword. This is just a terrific display of how skilled he is and how much determination he has. Deathstroke can predict your movements based on your motions and subtle changes as well as his overall awareness. This typically tips fights in his favor because he has nearly precognition with the way he analyzes you. Whether a mix of martial skill or physical ability, Deathstroke says typically he can drop Bronze Tiger in 1 or 2 moves. Bronze Tiger is one of the most celebrated martial artists in DC Comics history, yet Deathstroke views him as father. In a straight-up sword fight one time, he was actually able to go toe-to-toe with Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul is a high-tier swordsman himself and is actually featured in this tournament. Deathstroke is a capable enough duelist that he can actually temporarily go toe-to-toe against Wonder Woman, who Batman has often referred to as the most talented melee fighter on Earth. Deathstroke has also shown a tendency to use his sword to put you in a position for him to punish you with hand-to-hand combat. So he might stab you or pin you down in a way that he can abuse you with his martial might. He has also shown he is willing to utilize a powerful sword throw if it means it can give him a chance to blitz and brawl with you. So, after checking over both contestants, how do I see this duel going down? Well, in terms of actual martial arts, I do believe Deathstroke's superior in martial arts like hand-to-hand combat. Count Dooku is no one to be laughed at. He knows all the martial arts training of Jedi as well as Sith, and he's trained across the galaxy in many forms of unarmed combat, so he's quite skilled. But still, Deathstroke should have the advantage. However, I do believe Count Dooku is the more talented swordsman and a more practiced swordsman. In the end, how I see the battle turning out is based on his style, which is to sit back and pick you apart. I believe Deathstroke would initially put pressure on Dooku and maybe even hit him a couple times. I don't think with any sword strikes, but with offhand blows. Eventually, Dooku would start to slowly wear down Deathstroke, pick apart his movements, just display his better one-on-one dueling skill, and slowly tear apart Deathstroke bit by bit, cutting him behind the leg here, cutting him on the arm there, eventually bringing Deathstroke down to his knees and beheading him. Moving on in the tournament is Count Dooku. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think. I've been grinding recently. Birthday's coming up. Want to celebrate by boosting my channel even more, so make sure to hit the like button and share my videos. Anyways, it's been your favorite villain. I'll see y'all later. Peace.